Happy Wednesday, Hump Day!
In the middle
Here
of
on
the week.
BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. You got the producer back there manning the big board back there. Drive safe. I was driving down Mansfield, and I saw this clumsy, joggish, kind of runnish, and I said, is that the producer trying to
Oh, wait a
jog
minute.
or
That's
run?
not the story I got yesterday, earlier this morning. He was like, I went out and I ran 2 miles and punished 2 miles.
I saw him, and he was probably on a quarter of a mile, and I'm going to say there's no chance he went 2 miles without stopping. No chance.
Were you running or were you jogging? Because you told me you were running.
I think he recognized my car and immediately picked the pace up. And there's no chance you kept that pace up for 2 miles. True or false?
Were you talking about? Did you see me at the very end when I was coming back towards the neighborhood?
No, I saw you at the very beginning. I mean, you were just coming, kind of like getting on the cannon.
Okay, I kept that pace for about a mile, and then I got to Willie Brown over there, and then I basically almost dropped to my knees because I had to throw up. So. I did finish it though. I had to take a few breaks in there. I think I walked for probably
It was hot enough. What time did you start running?
about 3:30.
Oh, my goodness. It was about 102 then.
It was warm for sure, and so it was, and it was probably closer to 4:15 to 4:30, to be honest with you. And he's trying to find out what time were you going home last night.
I just know that it was hot.
I came in early, though.
Yeah, it was a bad decision.
Are you talking about me? I just asked because that's the heat of the day. He's running
Came
at
in
3.
early again to come do what I do, and I don't know what that is, nor does anybody else, but I came in early.
Well,
hey,
you
we
know.
got the truck escape route drive safe. Let's talk a little bit about that. When is that used for?
That used is for a runaway in a runaway situation in which the brakes fail on a major incline. Usually these are in the upper elevations out west. There's a lot of them out west. However, they can be found along steep grades throughout the country on major highways and state highways and U.S. highways. They are there to rescue runaway trucks and allow them to come to a complete stop safely and upright.
Yeah, it was also used many times by the Mexican drug cartels as they try to evade the local police or the local. It's the same thing. It's escape route. They would go there. Speaking of the
Ramp, not route. It's ramp. It's escape ramp.
It's a ramp that takes them over somewhere. Speaking of the cartel, did you see Mississippi? We had a 2009, I think KW donated, from a cartel bust truck. KLM comes in and donates the trailer to a prison system to do some truck driver training at the local prison in Mississippi. Pretty cool stuff. Again, the trucking community, stepping it up with the trailer, the cartel stepping it up with the truck.
Yeah. They did have a simulator, and they had purchased the simulators, which allowed them, but they didn't have any hands-on practice, and they got these trucks to help train and.
I got a question for you. When somebody gets out of prison and they want to start a trucking position, whether it's a local LTL position, over the road truck, boy, Dave, I mean, do they stand a chance on getting a job?
Yeah, there are some companies that have a program in which they do that. It may be intrastate programs that allow it, maybe not necessarily interstate, but there are some companies that go out there, help, and identify.
So why intra versus inter? Why can't the interstate companies, why aren't they putting these drivers out of prison on?
Well, I didn't say they aren't. I'm just saying that there's a lot of local position jobs and stuff like that I think that they.
But when you look at applications, you look at that, it's pretty much saying if any felony, and especially you get somebody coming out from a year, and again, you think about an industry that's that's still short. I know we're in the second quarter, going into the third quarter now, and it's not last year. Freight seems a little off right now. But Dave, why are trucking companies hesitant, or it's against their policy to hire these guys out of prison?
Well, it depends on. Of course, it depends on the crime. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with the crime itself.
I mean, you're getting prison. You're not going in there for usually shoplifting. It's a little bit more serious than that. I've always wondered that. So if you're going in there for a drug conviction, you're not getting hired.
Probably.
Well, you're not.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think you're allowed to get hired from that if you're in there for, I mean, I just don't know where they're going to go. I mean, murder, you're not going to get out. You're not going to get on there. For aggravated assault, that's a tough one. But they don't. But you worry about the trucking industry, the trucking companies, just probably like any business. You worry about, well, is that going to happen to my employee, even though it was, say, 10, 12 years ago?
Yeah,
I mean, do they stand a chance with these trucks? I mean, who are they going to go work for? The small company?
Maybe. Probably the smaller company.
Like the 1 or 2 truck person that may or may not pay.
The entrepreneur.
Yeah, and so you think about that, and again, a lot of insurance companies, there's a lot of provisions against these folks from getting a job. You see the work that goes into it. And I do think this is that we got to make sure, when somebody was 19 or 20 or 21, 22, 25, 10 years ago, boy, they're different people than they were at 20. Would you admit you are a different
Absolutely.
person?
Oh yeah. Well, that was 30 years ago, but I would consider myself a wholly different person.
Holding H-O-L-Y? Here he goes. He's going. He's going. Jesus. He picked that up and.
W-H, whole, like as in the complete person. I would say I'm. Most of me is much changed.
I got you. Hey, I heard y'all talking last week about shark attack.
Holy.
Where was that at? Where was
Holy.
the shark attack you and producer were talking about last week?
Oh, that was in California.
And another one in Florida. The girl got attacked out in was it the Sarasota area or something like that?
Yeah.
Legs getting amputated.
Yeah, not too much damage to the lower part of the leg on the shark attack going after.
9-foot shark is what they assume it was. The another shark bite. Just
get in the water.
You know what? I don't spend a lot of time in the water at the ocean when I go to the ocean. I love the ocean, big fan of the ocean.
Me too.
But like the beach a lot more than I do the water because it's not my territory.
Well, you know what?
And
what was the interesting
the
stat?
more weight I gain, the less, I feel like I look like bait out there.
You do.
Yeah,
but
and not for the middle.
What was the interesting stat that they said that you are 30 times more likely to be struck by lightning than you are to be attacked by a shark? 30 times.
Wow.
That's
that's hard to believe. I would. It just seems like you'd be more likely to easily get bit by a shark than struck by lightning.
No, they said 30 times. I mean, what is it? Over 1,500 people a year get struck by lightning?
I think it's almost the equivalent of winning the lottery is getting bit by a shark.
Wow.
So
it's not really the lottery, but no, I get it though. It's pretty. It's just not a good chance.
The antithesis of the lottery.
Not a good chance of doing that. Hey, Dave, we talked about, was that 2 weeks ago? We had the horrible deaths in San Antonio, and more news is coming out about that. Reported yesterday out of San Antonio was the fact that they were indeed picked up on this side of Mexico.
Absolutely,
right?
from a stash house.
Yeah, from a house, and multiple stops made. Conversations from ladies that were in there said it was hot when they got in there. They purposely took seats towards the door because of that, Dave. But they said that to avoid any kind of detection from the dogs, they threw meat tenderizer all over the floor.
So it couldn't smell the people. Yeah, I think it was it bouillon? Yeah, I think it was chicken bouillon.
Yeah, chicken bouillon.
Yeah.
Yeah, just all over the place on that. And yes, the guys got caught, and there's a couple of them doing that. But my gosh, is it, it's just, this begins to turn worse and worse. And we talked to folks. I think we talked to who we talked to last week about Dana. And we talked about, hey, a lot of these things are happening on this side. It's not just the border. It's everybody coming across the border, right? Going to these houses. And then the bad stuff again begins to happen. And that's putting them in the trailers, trying to get them, moving them out. And Dave, I'm telling you, we've got to do something about that border.
Yeah, it was, and I do like talking to Dana about it because he's former DOT, he's a former state trooper. And, it was interesting. He's in the know, and he gets to talk to those guys, and he has a better understanding in their conversations. And they told that they're going to create strike forces to go after these stash houses and to help eliminate some of this going on our side of the border and make it less profitable, make it more difficult, and save lives in the interim.
Yeah, tomorrow we're going to do an interview, and we're going to record this interview. We want to make sure that we give it the right structure, the right attention to it. We're going to have we have Adam Blanchard.
I saw that.
Adam Blanchard works with the TXTA. He also sits on the board of one of the Truckload Carrier Association's policy side of the business. Owns a trucking company out of San Antonio. We're going to talk a little bit really about California's law, but
AB5.
we're going to move it in as well into what happened down there in San Antonio.
Good.
David Heller from the Truckload Carriers Association is also going to be on the show. Executive Vice President of Government Affairs, right? And Safety is going to be also on the show.
And
we're going
recent guest on BCB.
Oh, yeah, for certain. And we're going to have both those on air tomorrow about 8:15. We're going to record this, though, and we want to get it sent out. We want to make sure that we're sending the right message because this is important to the truck. Both of these areas are super important, right?
Right.
We want to make sure, number one, that the image that we provide to this country. You know what? That's not who we as an industry are.
No.
People putting in the back of these trailers. We've got to address the issues. We as truck drivers as well, we have to make sure that we are also calling 911 when we see things that happen that don't seem right, whether it's trafficking, whether it's putting human smuggling, any of those things you see and your areas, we've got to make sure we're calling Drive Safe.
Yeah, I mean, nobody else knows the road, that environment, and that lifestyle. I can tell you right now, it's a different world in which you live in when you're out there on the road, and nobody knows it better than a truck driver. And they know when something's wrong. When they see it, you know it. You can just feel it, and when it happens. And all we're asking and all we want you to do is not necessarily get directly involved. But I'll tell you what, there's nothing wrong with picking up the phone and dialing 911.
I'm going to do this, Drive Safe Dave, for tomorrow's show.
Okay.
We're going to go maybe the first 20 minutes. We're going to talk to, we may just have those two on the whole time, but I'm going to see what we can do to get Sheriff Lamb on the show tomorrow.
Okay.
And maybe we can get Sheriff Lamb and those two on the show at some point for a 15-minute segment purposely on the border.
Got it.
You know what? Not a better source than Sheriff Lamb down there in Arizona, Palomino County, but making things happen. It's what we do here on BCB Live. Drive Safe, so much to go over, but we do have Dr. Mark Manera back on the show. We're going to go to Mark in just a second, but first we're going to take a break. And Drive Safe, who is this interview brought to us by?
The Utility ProWare. And guess what? You can log into utilityproware.com and put in BCB 20 and get a 20% discount right there on some of this gear right here. Makes you look thin, makes you look great. And let me tell you, it saves lives. You want to be seen, you want to be noticed, you want to be recognized out there on the road, in the truck stop, and everywhere around you. You want to make sure that you can be seen.
Be seen, but be seen in style. That's right, baby.
Utility
ProWare brought to you here by BCB Live. We're going to a break, and we'll be come right back to you with Dr. Mark Manera.
This segment has been brought to you by Utility ProWare. Utility ProWare manufactures high-quality, ANSI-certified, high-visibility apparel for both men and women. Infused with a Teflon fabric protector, Utility ProWare gives you the added benefit of providing a barrier to liquids, dirt, and grime, keeping you cleaner longer, brighter longer, and therefore safer longer. Get your high visibility apparel by going to utilityproware.com. Use the code BCB20 at checkout for an exclusive discount.
All right, welcome back to BCB Live. We're the safest station in the nation, and we're turning it into one of the healthiest stations in the nation because of folks like Dr. Mark Manera. Dr. Manera, how you doing today, sir?
I think you're muted, Dr. Manera.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited for this. Sorry for being muted. You were talking about the human trafficking, and something that. It's one of those things that, like, we all know it's really bad until you have an experience in person. I was talking to one of our members, and she was telling me about a time when she called, the trucking against human trafficking, and they caught someone. They arrested someone, and what was really, touching and I guess like made it serious was that, it was a truck stop right in my neighborhood. and it's like it's right in plain sight where this stuff is happening. So I'm excited for tomorrow. I'm going to tune in and watch it as well.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting thing. Let me tell you, anytime you get those two on, Adam Blanchard just as an excitable person as David Heller. I got to hear some little stories too about those two last week, but we're going to talk about them. But today, we're talking about health. We're talking about eating better. We're talking about living your life a little better, a little cleaner. This is water right here. You know what?
All right.
I've changed from Diet Coke to water, and I want to say thank you, sir.
Actually,
baby steps.
Sugar-free creamer.
Woohoo! Let's go. That's awesome. Awesome.
But anyway, so Doctor, first tell us about your organization. Tell us about Trucking Fitness Company. Tell us what it is. We want to make sure we get that in there, and tell us what it is and how you got it started.
So I'm the founder and CEO of the Trucking Fitness Company. We are really focused on helping drivers exercise, eat healthier, and stay accountable to their goals out on the road. And so we do that all through a coaching program that's delivered on an app right on their phone. And we're really just focused on meeting each driver where they're at and giving them the easiest entry point in getting started, and then holding them accountable to keep going and really just make health and fitness a part of their lifestyle.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you, so last time we were on, we talked to you a little bit about, how the company got started in programming. Let's talk a little bit about nutrition this time. Let's go in there. Why don't you, that's your expertise, fitness and nutrition. Why don't you give us some of that knowledge that we can go to and start working on today?
Yeah, I think a lot of drivers come in, and I think drivers and just people in, honestly, our culture in general, when it's talking about making changes to nutrition, they have this all or nothing mindset. And it's where, okay, I'm at this point, and if I'm going to make a change, then I'm not going to think about this small change, but I have to change everything dramatically. And it's like this 180 flip, and it's all these, I'm going to restrict myself from carbs, fat, or, everything, desserts. I can't drink alcohol. I can't do anything. And it's this, one or another mindset. And for a lot of times, it sets people up to, really hold on for dear life until they fall off a week later and fail the diet. And so what my approach is for drivers is, a lot of times they get down on the fact that there's a lot of things that you cannot control out on the road. You can't control that maybe McDonald's is the only place you can eat at. You can't control that you have a lack of some of the healthier options that, maybe a local driver or someone who works in an office has access to. But what you can control, and when you shift your focus towards everything that you can control, all of a sudden, the sky opens up and there's so many opportunities to, make one or two small changes that just gets the ball started and, just starts making progress and building up those small wins. And so if I was a driver and I was saying, hey, I want to make a change to my health, my approach would be, where's one or two small things throughout the day that I can just make a small tweak to that doesn't really change my day-to-day life a crazy amount, but I can do over a consistent period of time and start stacking those wins. And really, I think a lot of drivers would be surprised the impact that some of these small changes can have when you do it over a consistent period of time.
So we're not talking about, and as we talk about it, we're not talking about just not eating Fritos anymore, but switching over to Funyuns. We're actually talking about go into specifics, detail about that, because I like the idea of maybe changing, maybe not just drinking 9 sodas in a day, right? That you're used to the 9 Mountain Dews that you drink. But what are you talking about specifically? Go into some great detail on that.
Yeah, so your Fritos example is great. Maybe the average snack for a driver is opening the bag of Fritos up and just eating out of the bag. So maybe a step in the right direction is, instead of eating out of the bag, you're just measuring out 1 serving and you're just going to eat 1 serving of it. Or you say, hey, instead of Fritos, I'm going to eat a healthier snack like a piece of fruit or some nuts or, a protein bar or something that's, a little bit healthier than some chips. And so making those small changes instead of saying, hey, I'm going to change my snack for the day and breakfast, lunch, and dinner all at one time. And then all of a sudden you have this huge mountain that you're trying to climb to make this change. And so, I think snacks are a great place to start, even if it's, nailing down one meal a day and just saying, hey, I'm going to perfect breakfast, and every morning I'm just going to nail that and start my day off on the right note. And then I'm just going to eat like I typically do for lunch and dinner. And then once you build that momentum, maybe you also add in lunch or you add in your snack, and you just start chipping away at it versus saying, I'm going to clean slate. I'm throwing everything out of, out of all the food out of my truck. And I'm going to, change everything I typically eat on a day-to-day basis. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. But Dr. Monera, here we go. If I'm a driver, I'm out there and I'm struggling right now, I just have nobody to turn to. Nobody to call to, nobody to motivate me to stay strong. What's your advice to me when I have that? Do you have an answer for that on your app or anything?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's where the accountability comes in. And I really look at, when we're working with companies and when we're working with drivers, I really look at that accountability as the stickiness of the program, because a lot of these drivers don't have someone that they can talk to, that they can, who relates to their lifestyle and can understand what they're going through. And, also, be a little hard on them sometimes when they need the push, right? I think it's that mixture of showing some empathy when they need it and also pushing them a little bit when they need it. And so I think getting someone who can hold you accountable and who can give you that plan to say, hey, we have this 6-month goal of losing 20 pounds or whatever, but here's what you need to do and execute today and this week. And then if you don't do that, someone who's going to, message you, send you a text to be like, hey, Rick, where were you at this week? I didn't see you do any workouts. And I really think that, along with building that relationship with a coach, is something that a lot of drivers are missing out on. And, a lot of the reason why a lot of these drivers find themselves going down the path that, you see these statistics.
Yeah, you know what? Not related to how we eat or what we do here on Exercise Live, but Drive Safe Dave will call me coach as I work through him on things within the company outside of it, continue to motivate him and help hold himself accountable. He oftentimes he calls me coach, and
it's not really coach. It's something else. But we won't. This is a family program, and we won't go there. We're not going to do that. So let's talk about it. And as you were talking about breakfast, and you were talking about the snack, and leaving aside, let's start with a good nutritional breakfast, as you might see it, and then we go from there, and then how we can apply that every day. You were talking about knocking it down. So let's do that. Let's knock down breakfast. What's a good breakfast every morning?
Yeah, so let's start with, if you're in your truck and you're saying, hey, I'm just going to, have a quick breakfast and I'm not going to buy it out. I'm just going to stock my truck up with some options. So I think a majority of trucks, or, a lot of drivers we work with, have a microwave in it. So I think a bowl of oatmeal, and I'm not talking about those dino oatmeals where you open it up and you've got the sugary dinosaurs or the brown sugar cinnamon. I'm talking about just some plain oatmeal with cinnamon. Maybe you put one serving of peanut butter in it, and you mix it up and you microwave it, and that's a great healthy carbs that will keep you full throughout the day, or at least until lunchtime, and start your day off on the right note. I always drink my coffee. I got it right here. And just like you did, Dave, not adding in those creamy Snickers creamer with 40 grams of sugar every teaspoon, but having if it's low-fat milk, or it's a lower calorie creamer, and then having a 0-calorie sweetener that you're using. I really like stevia, and it's great. It works much better, and it works just as great as sugar does, and you don't get all those extra calories. And so that would be a great meal right there. If you wanted to have more, I think there's a bunch of low sugar protein bars that you can keep stocked in your truck as well. I really like Pure Protein, but there's a ton of them, like One or Quest, and you can find those at Love's or TA as well. And if you're going into the truck stop, I think that's a great place to start as well. Getting a protein bar, getting a piece of fruit, if it's a banana and apple. There's hard-boiled eggs that you can grab to build that. And I think it's just, not going to the Cinnabon at the TA and grabbing a cinnamon roll, or not grabbing, the day-old breakfast sandwiches that are under the, heat light, and just scarfing that down. But it's just slowly building that meal with, a nice protein source, a nice carb source. And we, in our program, have truck stop guides and restaurant guides to help those drivers build those meals.
Hey, doctor, after this breakfast, I need a snack, all right? I'm looking for a snack. Now what am I snacking on?
Yeah, so I would go, I think the easiest one that's at every truck stop is grabbing a bag of beef jerky. I know it's a little expensive, but I think it's a great snack. If you get a snack high in protein, it keeps you fuller for longer and fills you up quicker, right? So that's the awesome thing about high protein foods. And so pieces of fruit are awesome. A protein bar. I like, carrots or some type of vegetable that you can keep and snack on. And the cool thing about fruit and vegetables, you can't show me someone who's gotten fat from eating too much fruits and vegetables. So you can eat a large portion of it or just snack on it all day, right? And I think a lot of the people, yes, they're like, that doesn't sound great, but I think the bigger thing is when you get and you prepare it and it's right there, when you start eating it, it's like, okay, hey, that's fulfilling my craving. And I think those are, the biggest win is stocking your truck up and getting it next to you while driving those healthier options so that you don't just grab the bag of Doritos and start going to town mindlessly.
Yeah, I know. And I'll tell you, some of it is out of habit over years. You're driving and you do this for a living and you're driving and it gets to that point and you get a little bit hungry. You just do something like you've done out of habit and you do reach for those things that you've done for years that haven't benefited you a great deal. I do like the idea of adding and preparing. I think that's really the main difference that we're talking about. Instead of circling the Frito-Lay aisle, you know what I'm talking about? Instead of doing that every time you go in, do go over. They are offering some neat and cool different stuff. So I do like the idea of preparing more. And what about, finally, let's talk about those desserts. I mean, everybody likes to hit dinner, but I like a dessert. Rick doesn't, I do. I'm a big dessert guy. I like to order the dessert. Where are we at on desserts?
Yeah, so I'll get to desserts, but talking about the preparation, I think something that we try to teach our drivers is, talking about that preparation. Every driver does a pre-trip inspection for their truck, but no driver thinks about themselves during the pre-trip, and something that we've developed is called the healthy pre-trip, and it's focusing 5 to 10 minutes before you get driving for the day. Prep a couple of healthy snacks and keep them in your passenger seat for the day. Prep some 0-calorie or low-calorie beverages that you can drink on throughout the day, if that's water, if that's a 0-calorie beverage that of your choice, or if it's water with some Mio or another flavoring that's 0 calories, that's awesome. And then move for 5 to 10 minutes. And if you can use that time in the morning to nail that healthy pre-trip and just get your day started, it builds that base. And once you have the base, you can start stacking other things on top of it and, really start pushing the needle forward. And, from a dessert perspective, I am a true believer that no one needs to go through life no one needs to hate their life. And I think I have a sweet tooth myself, and I think you need to set it up where you can eat the things you enjoy. You can have that brownie, you can have that cookie, but you use moderation and proportion, right? And so, I think they did a study and they gave a bunch of people different portion sizes of desserts, and they found that most people get 90% of the enjoyment of eating dessert in the first 2 bites. And I'm not saying just go eat 2 bites, but what I'm saying is instead of getting the large size of ice cream, just get the small.
Right.
And you're still going to get that taste, you're still going to get that enjoyment, but you're making that small win because you're cutting out like 300 calories from that one change. And the other thing is, maybe desserts every other night instead of every night type of situation. Or it's a once a week or twice a week versus, twice a day, like some people have it. And so that's what I would say. You don't have to hate your life. Enjoy the foods you enjoy. If you have a sweet tooth, go for it. If you have you like salty foods and you like to snack on some of those things, just have it in moderation and have that balancing between, healthier options and, the things that you enjoy. And I think a lot of people over time, when they start having some of those healthier options, they start to shift their cravings, and they're like, hey, some of these healthier options do taste pretty good. And maybe you're not craving it like you crave ice cream, but you're more excited to eat it over time.
Hey, Mark, we got about 2 minutes, but I do want this. When it comes to prepping food, for the drivers that are prepping 7 days out or 5 days out, whatever that is, hey, what are some of the best foods for them to meal prep for or with?
Yeah, so I think crock pots and like Instapots are awesome because you can put a bunch of chicken breast in there and you can cook it all up and then package them out. I think having I like steaming vegetables is awesome. I think rice or potatoes are awesome as well, and you start building that meal out of like some chicken, some type of potato or rice, and then a vegetable, and then maybe you have some type of sauce that you put on after you reheat it, or maybe when you're cooking it in the crock pot. But you can do that with a ton of meat. You can make it with some beef, or you can make it with a pork shoulder, or whatever your choice is. The big thing is just, I would say, focusing on a lean or low fat meat or protein, getting a carb that's not meal prepping a Krispy Kreme donut, but some type of rice or some type of potato that's going to keep you fuller throughout the day, and then having some greens in there, I think, is important as well.
Let's go ahead and next time we have you on, I want to go over maybe a little fitness too, some different things that we can do the next time we talk. But if they want to reach out to you, what's the best way, Mark? What's the best way to reach you and your organization and to get started on a program?
Yeah, so we, if you look up the Trucking Fitness Company on any social media, you can find us there. Or if you go to truckingfit.com, so truckingfit.com, that's our website, or search the Trucking Fitness Company on Google and you'll find us. And thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. And before you get out of here, we always ask our guests to state their name, who they're with, and that you're watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Can you do that for us?
Yeah, so my name's Mark Manera, and you're watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
All right. Thank you, Mark. We do appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Mark, and soon to be the healthiest station in the nation. Exactly. We move that direction. I am down like 1.5 pounds. Can you tell?
Woohoo.
Yeah. He looks good, right? 1.5 pounds. A little brighter.
Since the last time I spoke with you. I mean, so it's been a while.
Awesome.
So in 5 years, I'll be down 10 pounds.
An improvement as long as the trend line goes the right way, right, Doctor?
Exactly. And I think a lot of people have this mindset of, I need to shred 20 pounds by next week. But if you lose 1 pound a week for a year, you're down 50-something pounds. Yeah. Well, hey, just like, hey, more than anyone, business is a long-term game, right? Health is the same way. It goes with you the rest of your life. So don't take this, quick and easy approach. I'm trying to build a lifestyle, and slow and steady wins the race.
I love it, man. Doctor, continue your quest out there on getting our trucking industry a little bit more fitter. And we appreciate all that you do. Help us and get that word out. We've got to do our part as well to be leaders in that, but to also encourage others to eat a little bit better out there on the road and do our part in talking to those trucking, anybody associated with trucking.
Absolutely. It doesn't just happen to be out there on the road, not just the drivers, but everybody in this whole industry needs to be involved in making sure that we're all a little bit healthier and last a little bit longer.
You see the lifespan on truck? I don't have that number on, but I was shocked when you look at the lifespan that the length of that truck drivers live compared to, say, the normal American that doesn't drive a truck.
11 times more likely to die. I think that's what it said.
Yeah, well, so truck drivers have a life expectancy 16 years less than the average population. So the average American's life expectancy is 78 years old. So, I can't tell you how many drivers we work with and that I talk to and see on social media who are around that, lower 60 age range. And something needs to change. And it's really sad, also just how much sacrifices they make on a day-to-day basis, their career and being a driver, and then getting hit with that on the back end. we need to make a change, and something needs to change, from the top and bottom, up and down, from an industry wide.
Man, for certain. Great stuff, Doctor. We'll see you next time as well, okay? Thank
Awesome.
you. Be
Sounds
safe
good.
out
Thank
there.
you.
All right, Drive Safe Dave. We're coming right back. We have Double Check talking a little bit of weather, probably a little heat. Right? Probably a little heat. I'm going to tell you this right now. If you haven't got your water, get it, because he's going to tell you to water up, my friend. Coming up next on BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. You're watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. BCB Live covers freight. Here we are now at 21% of record freight being rejected. News down in Texas. We're going to talk a little bit about this. We had another $1.5 million seizure. If ever there's a time to do a pre or post trip, it's if you're doing something wrong. Weather, traffic.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to some traffic and weather with Buckle Up Bob. You can kind of see where the visibility can be compromised a little bit. Again, right where that rain is.
And most importantly, safety. One of the things that we must do is make sure that safety is the number one thing that we focus on.
Going into an intersection, yellow is not the way. That's to clear an intersection, not to enter an intersection.
Tune in weekdays from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. You can watch BCB Live through LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook. So what are you waiting for? Subscribe today and follow BCB Live.
Hey, welcome back to BCB Live. You got Double Check Dale here to talk a little bit about weather. Hey, not a lot going on today as far as winds go. We'll run through them quick and see if there's anything going to pop up. No major gusts in any of the forecasts. We do see a little bit of wind in northern Wyoming a little bit later on. Winds pick up in the panhandles, Oklahoma and Texas, but we're just not seeing any really, really strong gusts anywhere, anything that's of great concern to us. So that is a great news today, and that's sustained when we will look at some thunderstorms that may produce some very, very heavy, strong winds. But let's take a look at that rain and thunder right now and go back to current. And right now, the only major thunderstorm we have going on right now, or major storm with precipitation up in the South Dakota area, catching the northeast corner of Wyoming, a little bit of Montana. So that you have a little bit of rain and showers going on up in Ohio and Indiana area, a little bit down in southern Louisiana. As we kick forward to this afternoon, we start to see a more active weather pattern as far as precipitation goes. Pretty strong storms in central Indiana and central Ohio, north central Ohio this afternoon. Potential for some strong winds. That one out in South Dakota is still going on. That's moved a little bit east to Rapid City. Some strong winds associated with that. And then we go to early evening, around that 6 o'clock hour. And we see the map kind of explode with a bunch of thunderstorms and showers going on. Main ones with that could turn severe on us is in Nebraska. And most of Nebraska is going to see rain this evening. And like I said, there's some chance of some of those storms turning very, very severe with some tornadoes, very high winds. Also, Indiana, central Indiana, and Ohio will see some thunderstorms this evening. When we go into the overnight hours, and into tomorrow morning, Iowa, Nebraska, that Omaha area in Nebraska and central Iowa, expecting some pretty strong storms there tomorrow morning, early morning hours, could produce some tornadoes and some high winds. The guys talked about before they got out of here, they talked about heat. And we'll throw the temperatures up there, but guys, it's just going to be hot. It's summertime. We're going to look at, a large section of 100-degree temperatures up through the middle, central part of the United States this afternoon. Listen to what they're saying. Drink that water. Get plenty of hydration going on. Don't overstress yourself. It was great listening to Dr. Mark talk about eating habits and stuff. Just eat a little bit lighter. If you don't feel good because of the heat, or if you overexert yourself, make sure you take that break. Get a little bit of rest. Let somebody know if you're not feeling good because of the heat. But the biggest thing is stay hydrated. With that, we'll take a short break and we'll come back and talk safety.
This segment has been brought to you by Utility ProWear. Utility ProWear manufactures high-quality, ANSI-certified, high-visibility apparel for both men and women. Infused with the Teflon fabric protector, Utility ProWear affords the wearer durable clothing with a great fit to afford the highest degree of safety. Get your high visibility apparel by going to utilityproware.com. Use the code BCB20 at checkout for an exclusive discount.
Welcome back to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Joined today by Dale. Dale, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing very well. You know, I enjoyed that interview with Dr. Mark, just going back to the days of driving. It was hard to eat healthy out there. The one thing that he said that really bothered me is no donuts. Man, I love my donuts. And so if I got
Well, there is a rule that Sir Rick has. If, in fact, the hot now sign is on, that's the only time you're allowed to go against the route, you know, anything like that. You go to the donut place, and that's hot now equals you must pull in and buy at least a dozen.
So
you don't have to eat them all.
Well, I was listening to him. The way I heard it is that if you buy a dozen donuts, you just have to take 1 or 2 bites of each one, and it's okay. Isn't that what he said? You just want.
I think that's the opposite of what he said on that. Dave. I think that he's trying to say control that portion, have that one donut. Don't order a dozen. You know what? It's like eating Lay's potato chip. Like the commercial says, you can't eat just one.
First
so
two
you
bites.
don't buy a big. And I'm guilty of that. I put the big bag of chips. Let me tell you, I put the and I will. This is my last handful of chips. I'll say that until the chips are gone.
Oh yeah.
right there with you, brother.
So you get the smaller bags of chips. Don't get the big one because I will go in there and those chips will be gone pretty quick.
First of all, I don't think
I love chips.
There is. I thought the large bag of Funyuns was the single serving size. I just thought that is the single serving size.
So real quick before you go into safety. So Drive Safe Dave and I are flying one day together. This is a long time ago. This is back when this is back before I got to know him and I learned I need to distance myself from him. We're flying to
Sit next to one another.
Pennsylvania, sitting next to one another on an airplane, okay? This guy opens up this bag like this, of suitcases full of snacks. I'm not talking 1 or 2. I'm saying, I don't know if he thought we were going to Europe or something. We were on like a 2-hour airline ride. He opens this thing up and pulls out a bag of Funyuns.
And he turns to me. He says, "You can't eat those."
You can't, not on
I
a plane.
can. Of course I can.
You can't
Watch
eat those
me.
on a plane.
Well,
Well, first he put them back in the thing. I was like, cool. And then I think I turned out and opened the suckers up. The smell of Funyuns goes throughout the entire airplane. You know, I was like, dude, you can't eat Funyuns on an airplane. But I was proud of him. He stuck to his guns and ate them.
every one of them.
You know,
And by the way, Rick ate a few of them. And once it opened the bag up, he wanted some of the Funyuns. He didn't even say
Drive
it.
Safe
He
had
reached-
crumbs all over. You know, the Funyuns, you take a bite, you go, and the things are just like crumbs everywhere on them. Smell like Funyuns for days.
Everybody on the plane wanted Funyuns, right?
Oh, man.
That's
So
true
what do we
story.
got going on with safety today, sir?
You know, we're talking about Safe Driver Week, which is next week, the 10th through the 16th. And you know, the difference is with Safe Driver Week, the increased law enforcement is not just zeroing on CMVs, it's all traffic. And what we're talking about this week is the areas of focus. And it's no surprise that the areas of focus are the same things we talk about on this show day after day, week after week, and show the videos. You know, speed management, distracted driving. Today, one of the other things they're going to focus on is following too closely. You know, whether it be in a commercial motor vehicle or whether it be in a four-wheeler, it's about following too closely. You know, roughly 1.7 million rear-end collisions account for 23% of all motor vehicle crashes out there, resulting in over 2,000 deaths and just about 1 million injuries. Wow. And that's just following too close. That's why we talk about it every day, is because we've got to get out of that habit, that sense that, you know, hey, we have plenty of distance when we don't. We have to be able to stop in that distance between us and the vehicle ahead of us.
Is following too close, is that a ticket by fine, like
100%.
Is it?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yes.
I mean, I think if you're a municipality, you can put an officer out there on that highway, on the roadway, and just make your money left and right by writing people up, giving tickets. I'm saying tickets to anybody who's driving too close.
So yesterday,
it's all over the place.
So yesterday when I went home, I jumped out on the freeway and I was driving and I noticed.
What time?
Huh?
What time?
5:10.
Of course.
Okay. That's when traffic was, and I did notice that, and I was very surprised, and I'm very happy at it. I watched as the truck drivers and the drivers, every four-wheeler was way too close to the vehicle next to them. Almost every single truck that I saw was by far had way more distance and way better.
Enough distance?
There were several that had 4 seconds. There were several, even in heavy traffic, were maneuvering
We
themselves.
need them to send us videos because that's not what we see.
I did see it. I did see it yesterday. I was very impressed, and I was very happy to see that. There was 1 or 2 trucks that were driving too close. But of all of the trucks that I saw yesterday, they were the ones that had the most distance on the vehicles.
On that 4-mile ride home.
You know, the following too close is aggressive driving in a lot of cases, and that just, perpetuates itself when we start following too close. When we get aggressive, then the drivers around us start doing that also. You know, aggressive driving, that's a big one for a CMV. If you get a following too close or aggressive driving ticket, that's a big one for a CMV holder. A lot of companies really look at you differently if you have that on your record.
It was probably 15 years ago, maybe 16 years ago, that I got pulled over by a highway patrolman on 287, not too far from your exit over there, Dave, and for aggressive driving.
Really?
Yeah.
15 years ago, that's wow.
Yeah, I remember that, and he didn't give me a ticket or anything, but he said, "Hey, you were," and I knew I wasn't mad or anything like that, but I was being a little too aggressive on it, and he pulled me over. And you think for a car, that means I had to have been pretty aggressive, not or careless maybe perhaps.
Way too close.
Yeah, way too close on that, and that was the first time. That's the only time it's ever happened to me. But my gosh, I mean, we see these videos, and I know we're getting ready to strike the videos up right now. It's just something we've got to just continue to work on. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that if we can just mentally get through the fact that we don't need to be so close, just like mentally you stop at stop signs and then you physically do it. You've got to be ready to do that each and every time. And until you start stopping at those stop signs that are in the yards that are at Walmart, you're not going to stop at the other signs. And until you just get in that habit today of not following, you've got to do it today. You've got to make that intention to at least focus and make that attempt to get that 3 to 4 seconds of distance behind.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's you talk about that. It's that habit. It's recognizing it. It's a habit that we have to change.
We want to save lives out here, and it is so speed and space.
Yep.
Speed and space. I mean, if we can do that, and I get it. I'm talking to the 4-wheelers too. I'm not just talking to the big trucks, but you know what? Right now, the truck driver, I need you to do that, man. And we've got to encourage them to do that.
Lead the way.
Yeah, the 4-wheelers are going to cut you off. They're not paying attention. They're gonna do things they shouldn't do. You've got to make sure that you're allowing them the room to make their errors. Make sure you're allowing them the room to make the errors that they're going to make, because you are better than they are. Videos.
First video we got is called Speed Drops, but Space Stays the Same.
So like I said, it's really a combination of the two, speed and space. We get the speed, we're too close here. It's one of those things we have to recognize that speed starts dropping, but the speed, the vehicle ahead is also dropping, and so we're not gaining any distance on that, and we're still just staying too close. We have to learn to back off a little bit quicker. We're not gaining anything by following this close. Like I said, we're below the speed limit, but just need to increase that space on it, even though the speed is pretty decent here.
Next we got Too Close, Not Gaining Anything.
And again, when we follow this close, we're too close. We're putting ourselves in an unsafe situation, and we're really not gaining anything. We're 2 seconds. I mean, we're less than 2 seconds behind them. We're not gaining there. We're not going to get there any faster. We're not able to push this car out of the way. The car can't drive any faster because he's got a big truck in front of him. So, hey, just back off and create that space, and let's get into a very safe position where we have the safe following distance out there, so we can stop if anything goes wrong.
Video after video after video, day after day, week after week, month after month, we continue to see the same kind of videos that yes, we appreciate you sending them in, but we just got to make sure that we understand that. I just don't know what else to say. I mean, if we cannot be this close, I mean, we're too close. You've got to back off. You're not okay when something happens up there. You don't have enough space, and boy, we've got to find a better way, another way to get this message out, because our message isn't big enough. It isn't happening. We're not changing it today. People's habits, I don't think, not enough. We've got to go out there and get the help of others to make people realize that this is not acceptable. you've got to back it off.
Yeah, you have to trust the technology, and if you don't trust the technology, go the old-fashioned way. Count it out. You know, when that vehicle ahead of you goes past a set marker, start counting 1001, and if you can't get past 1001, if you can't get past 1002, you're too close. Just do it the old-fashioned way if you don't trust technology. But once you start realizing that, once you start counting it out loud, you're going to realize that, hey, I'm too close, and I do need to increase that space, and all of a sudden it'll start opening up, it'll start clicking in your mind about it.
Next video we got is called Harsh Brake.
You know, this one here is a little bit scary, and actually talk to the driver. And what's going on here is there's an accident. There's an accident a couple miles up the road. There were some warning signs earlier, and then so the driver got distracted. He said, hey, I looked down, I was looking at my map because he said I knew I need to get to an exit. He said it was just a second, I look up and that vehicle stopped dead in the roadway. And so again, we talk about distracted driving, we talk about speed, we talk about space, and one of the things you'll notice is about 3 miles an hour over the speed limit. You know, had we been going a little bit slower, you know, the distance, you know, has more reaction time. And so all those things play into this, folks. We have to take this seriously, because if we don't, we get that distracted driving, we speed, bad things happen. And here we just, you know, it's a near miss. I'm glad, you know, very fortunate, near miss. But we have to learn from this. Other drivers have to learn from this. This has to be a learning moment right here.
This video is called Too Close, Get Away from the Chaos.
Yeah, again, there's just a lot of traffic. Not a lot of traffic, but we're too close. You know, if you would just stay back away from the chaos a little bit. And here's one where we see where we actually are, you know, gaining a little bit of space toward the end of it, but just not quite enough. We just have to learn to do it a little bit quicker. And then we'll get a lot better. You know, speed's okay, but have to increase that space.
Our last video of the day is titled Overspeed, Overly Close.
You know, again, when we're over the speed limit and we're too close, you know, it's a double whammy. We just got too much going on here. You know, speed limit's posted at 65, and we're running 70, and we're right up behind that car. We're putting ourselves in an unsafe situation. If there's road debris or something up there that we can't see, that big picture, that defensive driving. So again, it's just have to take these moments to learn from them and understand, hey, I got to back off to get into the safest position I can be. Got to have that adequate following distance. And that's your videos for the day.
Scary.
Boy.
Scary videos.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, like I said, there's opportunities to learn. We have to use the technology we have. We have to believe in it. We have to understand that, you know, distracted driving. We've had guests on the show already talk about, you know, distracted driving. It was only a second. It was only 2 seconds. And here's what it shows. And, you know, here's a video again that shows that, hey, if I lose my focus for a second, bad things can happen.
So let's go back to that video. Let's just blow it up for a second. The video with the vehicle stopped. I mean, why was the vehicle stopped?
There's a fatality accident.
Why was the vehicle stopped?
Why
is he stopped? Why is he stopped? Pause it over there. Just when you get close to it, back it up. Pause it right there. Get it closer. Why is it stopped?
That I don't know.
I can't tell from the video, from the small screen. I can't
Was it
tell.
involved in the accident, perhaps?
Or it's just running very slowly. I can't tell from the video. I can't see because I don't see brake lights on the truck. I don't see brake lights.
I didn't see brake lights, nor did
So I don't. So I have a hard time thinking he's just stopped. He might be running very slowly, but I can't.
Okay, why are we going 20 miles an hour when there's nothing at this point to be going 10 miles an hour?
There's no
and
reason.
And that goes to my point on why we've got to allow space, why you got to pay attention, because these four-wheelers, they're going to make decisions sometimes they shouldn't make.
100%.
Out there. They're stopping in the middle of a road. Let me tell you, if you're in a four-wheeler and you have an opportunity, pull off to the side.
Yep.
You don't stop in the middle of the road. You don't get out your maps, go and find a place where we're going to exit out right here. If you're a big truck, expect them to do it. That's kind of our point, is that you are and should be, you know, let me say this, you hold a Class A CDL. That's a tougher license to have than, say, a Class C. The Class C doesn't give you the right to do stupidity things, to do stupid decisions. It doesn't give you the right at all. You know, you still, as a Class C driver driving a car, you know, Boyd, you should be out there looking ahead. That's what you should be doing. You shouldn't be on your cell phone. I don't care if you have a Class A or Class C. Class C, you shouldn't be doing it either. Class C, you should be looking up ahead for traffic. You should be looking up ahead for things in the road and making decisions way back where, because you've allowed yourself that same distance. And Dave, I'm going to say this: if there's a, you know, we see gators, you know, blown tires on the road. Four-wheelers, sometimes they struggle around them. And all I'm saying is the same thing. If they allowed themselves the proper space, it wouldn't catch them off guard.
Nope.
Is that true or false?
Or paying attention.
Yeah, if they paid attention, allowed themselves speed and space, it wouldn't be a surprise. They wouldn't stop. They wouldn't get themselves into, you know, it goes into that, I almost look at it as like the stale green light. Well, it was yellow. Well, it's not that. The decision to run the red light, you made it too late. It was way back there, and when you should have known that that light is going to change, and you don't allow yourself to be in that position. For the cars, the four-wheelers, they have that same accountability. They should be up looking ahead, not following too close. That allows them the ability to make a decision, a safe decision.
Agreed.
Right?
Absolutely.
The truck driver, you're no different. And we're actually trying to say this, hey, allow some fudge factor, because they're not going to do it. They don't get held accountable to the same things you do. They, you know, they just do things because they don't know any different. We're telling you to, you know, because they're not doing it right, doesn't give you the reason to do it wrong either.
Yep.
You've got to increase your space, decrease your speed. It's just what you have to do. As an industry, it's what we have to do. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. Increase your space.
Yeah, and as we watch
factor.
Yeah, and as we watch the video, and here's an alarming factor, is that if the driver is doing 73 in a 70 and is speeding and has an accident, they're already at fault for the accident.
Yeah, you're at fault.
You're
Why
at
are
fault.
you speeding?
Why are you speeding? I mean, I'm just saying.
Why are you running the red light?
Right.
Why are you running the stop sign?
Why are you speeding?
Why are you doing it? Why isn't your space where it's supposed to be?
Yep.
I get the car shouldn't be doing that, but why are you doing what you're doing?
That's how it's going to play out.
Why are you? I'll ask that daggum question. Why are you doing what you're doing? If it go well, it's, you know, no, it wasn't that wasn't the flow of traffic either. By the way, that's not an excuse either. But that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
The
You
flow
weren't
of traffic actually stopped up ahead.
You weren't passing anybody.
Thank you.
You weren't going around anybody. Yep. And I get all of those scenarios, and I understand what transpires. But honestly, as you look at it and you want to evaluate how you drive and understand the importance of what it is that you do and how you will be held accountable to that, you have to understand that when you speed, you're breaking the law, and you are responsible for no matter what transpires at that moment.
Yeah, think about the trucking company or your company that you work for. If that's maybe you're an IC on that thing there. You know, do you realize what you're doing, the liability you're leaving your company up against on that? Because you're speeding. You're speeding. If you weren't speeding, I would say this, if you weren't speeding, maybe you could have stopped, but you were speeding.
That's correct.
And what are you going to do? Don't speed. Make sure your space is there. Folks, we've got to get better at this. And I know we're just seeing videos, and Dave, I get it that there's, 11 hours in a day. They're driving, and maybe this would, but it only takes that brief second.
You saw it?
Yeah. That's all it takes.
You just saw it.
Oh. It just takes a minute for you to get unfocused, to look down, and something like that's going to happen. You've got to stay ahead. You've got to keep them eyes up. You can't take time to look at your route at that point. You, like the car, like that van or whatever that was, you got to get off the road as well if you're going to look for an exit. You cannot do that while you're driving. You've got to put your distractions aside. You've got to increase your space. You've got to decrease your speed. Slow it down. It's okay. You're not making up anything. Go the speed limit at worst case. Do what you can to always make our highways, our national highways, the safest. That wasn't safe, but it's not alone. All that is the result of distracted driving. All these other videos that we see All they are is somebody stopping like that from having a rear end collision. It's just all it is, because you don't have the time to stop. You don't have it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Statistics say you can't do it. So why put yourself in that position? Drive safe, close out with the prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, we gather before you today to ask for your grace in all things. Father, protect us today. Watch over us and keep us safe in whatever we do and however we do it. Father, we also ask that you give us the ability and the courage to do the right thing and the strength to overcome our inadequacies and to be better at what we do, to be stronger at what we do, and to be greater for the common good and for everyone around us. Father, we ask that you help us protect not only ourselves, but each person that we encounter today. We ask all these things in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, we'll see you tomorrow morning on BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Don't forget, some phenomenal interviews again tomorrow as we continue to take our step forward in getting people on here to talk to you about your health, about fitness, about how you drive, and about the, some of the issues we have here in trucking. You get all that right here on BCB Live. We're the safest station in the nation, but we're also the station that really does care about you and this industry. We'll see you tomorrow.